Hello and welcome to another office hours. We've brought in some new faces today. We have Crystal Mandrelay hosts. She is our VP of Creative Strategy, and Sean Hirsch. He is a UX designer here at Tenlo. And Cheryl is coming back for another office hours, my co-host on Leader Generation. And today we're talking about personal branding. And right before we got on the Zoom call, we were having an offline conversation about, how kind of prickly and spicy this topic can get, since some of us are super passionate about our careers and what we do, and what happens when maybe your company doesn't want to leverage or have you share all of that passion. There might be some ownership on their side. But what about when it works out? Madeline did an awesome job of giving us some tools and processes for using our personal brands for good. And part of that being not related to work and being, who you are, and how can companies leverage who you are and what you're passionate about to be a part of their offering, to be a part of how they build relationships. So a lot of stuff to cover in a very short amount of time. If you have a question, go ahead and throw it into the chat and we'll answer it live. But I'm going to go ahead and kick it off and first just kind of get a round table reaction to the interview overall. So Crystal, what were your thoughts on the interview with Madeline?
I thought it was great. I know that you and I had chatted about Madeline separately. And I really love this idea of, there are a lot of people in the world doing amazing and wonderful things. And especially if you're a doer and you're, really into it, you might not realize that other people may be inspired by what you're doing. You just might not think about sharing it. And I feel like it's really, I feel like it can be a real confidence booster in people's careers to understand that the things that they do, people are interested in, even if you're sort of heads down doing the work. There are people who are interested in that. So I thought it was really valuable. I liked some of the things that she talked about around, especially with the spaces that she works in, how people navigate sensitive situations where they may work in government, where they can't even talk about the things that they actually do for a living, and how do they curate or create a personal brand around it to help support it.
Yeah, no, I agree. Sean, what were your thoughts?
I thought the episode was really interesting. When I hear the term personal branding, sometimes I think of it from a design perspective, like what is my logo on my resume, or what does my business card look like, just those aesthetic things. But listening to the episode, it really got me thinking about all the different facets of your personal brand and how important just like the tone that you're using when you're interacting with people on platforms is. I thought the bit about bringing forth that authenticity was so important, because I think about the people that I interact with on LinkedIn or Facebook, and I latch on to people who do emit that authenticity, and you just can feel that they're being real and that they're actually passionate about what they're talking about. And listening to the episode, I was like, well, that's really great to strive for, but it's one of those things that's definitely easier said than done. So I've definitely been thinking about how can I start to bring forth that passion and authenticity in my own personal brand, which could definitely use some work. So I have some to-dos on my end after listening to it, but it was great.
That is interesting that you say you have some to-dos coming out of the conversation. It's always our objective with the episodes, is to really inspire people to action. Cheryl, for you, did you have any next steps that you think, us as the hosts could take, or that how could we get better about leveraging our personal brands or creating them to support Leader Generation or Tenlo?
Well, it's funny you asked that, because I had never really thought about my personal brand before, and the impact that it has on the podcast and how I am the face of that. So that alone was eye-opening for me, that I do need to think about my personal brand more. And she gave some great tips about like building that house and having some consistent messaging around things that you are passionate about, whether it's directly related to work or just your personal passions. So that is my next step, is to start to build that brand house out for myself, and to really find those areas that I want to focus on, and start, presenting more content around those areas.
Cheryl, I absolutely like love that for you, because you are like one of those coworkers where I am like continually amazed and surprised by the things you have going on in your personal life. And I'm like, oh my gosh, Cheryl, I would never have thought, or oh my gosh, that's so interesting that you're just, you're taking Tai Chi just for fun. It's like there's so many things you do, and I feel like you're one of those people that Madeline talks about, where you do a lot of stuff and you just don't even think to amplify it, because it's just what you do, and it would be such an inspiration to a lot of people.
I think it's interesting too. We have an upcoming episode where we're going to talk a little bit like about imposter syndrome, and how people don't feel like some of the activities and the things that they do are worthy of putting out there. They don't think they're special or interesting, and I definitely have some of that going on. So yeah, I think a lot of people do. So I think that'll be a great follow-up episode after the one on personal branding, because we're going to start getting into, more deeper into some of those topics.
So that brings up a really good point. Actually, we got a question in that I love. So why is it worth it? Like, what makes it worth building a personal brand? So if you're not sure it's special enough, you don't even know if your company will agree to it. So Crystal, I'm going to direct that to you first. Why do this? What's the benefit to you, the company? What happens?
Yeah, I mean, so, I wouldn't want to say that I have any sort of really defined personal brand, but growing up I'm not quite a digital native, I'm a little bit older than that, but, I have had an online presence in some way for a really long time, like all the way back to like LiveJournal and like Friendster.
Oh, yeah.
So, I've had some sort of online presence, and I think that the biggest benefit that I've found through having some sort of presence online, where I am showcasing things I care about or things that I'm doing, is that you find connections with people who are aligned with you in those same areas, and people you would maybe have never even thought. And because you might have different lifestyles or different career paths, but it's like they might narrow in on that one thing that resonates with them because it intersects with an interest that they have. So I think the biggest thing has always been connection, especially for like, I connect great online. I'm not I don't have like a huge, large group of in-person friends. I just connecting in the real world was always something that was a challenge for me personally. So I think having those digital connections that can sometimes lead to in-person connections has been helpful for me personally.
Yeah. And that, creates a lot of acceptance, and I think can be a great tool to combat imposter syndrome. And, but what about, you're making these connections, it's super fulfilling. Is there a concern that it starts to take time away from work? And I'm going to direct this question to Sean, because Sean has a side hustle and it is just a booming business. And I could see, Sean, your personal brand adding a lot of value to your side hustle. But how do you create that balance? Like, if you're investing time in creating a personal brand, you have a side hustle, like how many hours are there in a day?
It's definitely a struggle, especially with my particular side hustle being everything from the accountant to the order fulfiller. But I think it's just coming down to compartmentalizing your days. So saying like, I'm going to spend this amount of time on sort of my professional tasks and my professional work. And then you have to switch gears completely to get into that, if you have a side hustle, to get into that mode. I've actually kind of struggled in the past with how much of that more personal side to bring into my professional personal brand. Making skincare products doesn't really feel related to UX in my, personal case, but I do work on the website and a lot of the things for my side hustle. So this episode made me think of, this is one of my to-dos. How can I kind of start to pull some nuggets and insights from my side hustle that do relate to my professional career? And I just need to set aside that time to start to blend the two together.
Yeah. And so full disclosure, I'm kind of like Sean's boss, I guess, in a way. It's up to the reporting structure. And one thing I will say is, what I've noticed about you having a side hustle is that it accelerates your learning at work. So anytime you've been proposed or asked to learn a new skill, do something outside of your role, the fact that you have this side hustle that demands so much end-to-end involvement makes you a faster learner, because you have application to immediately practice and apply. And I feel like your answer also says, and Crystal, what you said, is kind of the same for personal branding. Like if we start making this time to create our personal brand, chunk it out in our day, and put ourselves out there in a way that really validates our skills and our passions, that's going to bleed over into work. So Cheryl, I know this was in the interview as well, but what if the company doesn't see these benefits, isn't ready for it? Like, what if your personal value and what you're getting validated for in this almost like skill acceleration isn't in line with where you work's value? That was a
that's a tough one. And especially there's certain industries, like we talked about, like, government positions or anything in the political arena or even medical, where you just have to toe a very, very fine line. But there's still ways that you can show your passions and who you are as a person, without getting into those areas that are, tricky. Because we were talking about this earlier, people like to do business with people they like. So showing some of, your passions as far as, whether you're involved in Tai Chi or, what you do on the side that isn't a, charged area with tension, can just shows who you are as a person, and people just feel like they can connect to you better. And that's going to help you no matter what industry you're in. And if you have to stay away from, certain topics.
Mm-hmm. I like that. So really having that conversation. Crystal, do you have anything to add there?
Yeah, because I was going to say, if we think about, sometimes the objective of a personal brand, it might not be how do I make a clear connection between who I am and what I do for a living. It's more about how do I show that I'm a real person? Because even when I go on a site and I'm looking at a product or a new small company, and it's I go to the about page to see, is this a real person? And if they just continually talk about the product or the business, and it's okay, but are you real? I'm going to go start stalking you on Facebook to see, okay, well, what do you like? What are the, what kind of pictures are you posting? So it's all part of the bigger, you want to connect with real people. So the fact that you don't talk about your works still fulfills that objective of showing that you're a person.
Mm-hmm.
It's interesting. I'm glad I'm not the only person that likes to go to the About Us page and read all about a company, because sometimes that's what makes you fall in love with a brand, is why they actually started the company, how they got the start. It's not just about the products, it's about like why they're creating them, you know, something, whether it was an environmental reason, or sometimes you'll see like in food products, it's because someone had an allergy or a special dietary need. And you read these stories, and that has so much to do with the brand. It's not just the products and how you use them. It's all about why the company got its start to begin with.
You bringing up going to that About Us page kind of comes back to one of the questions that we had about like, what is the value of doing this and why do it? And something that we come across in our research a lot of times is people are looking to see, you know, who is the leadership team at this company, or who are the people who are actually doing the work that I'm going to be interacting with. And a lot of times we see direct links to LinkedIn profiles, little bios, like there is some personality that comes through even on an about page for a website. So when you think about building your personal brand, it's also, I think, making sure that you're setting up that foundation for why you are trusted in whatever space that you work in, or showing on your LinkedIn through articles you interact with that you are passionate about this. You're actually like interacting with thought leadership pieces. That stuff you might think is like, well, I don't really need this for me, but it can really benefit the organization you work with so much more than people realize.
Yeah, I think that is a great place to conclude. We got a lot of validation in our chat and not a whole lot of other questions. I think we've hit on a lot of topics here. Let's just do a quick round robin. If you have any final thoughts to close, what would they be, especially for people who are thinking, I do want to do a personal brand? What would you say to them is like a first step to help them get started? Cheryl, we'll start with you. You're a master of words. Feel most comfortable putting you on the spot.
I would say just get started. I used to have this viewpoint that every single thing had to be perfect before you put it out into the world and the universe. And that view has definitely shifted. And sometimes you just got to get started. Don't be afraid. Don't worry, especially in a digital universe. Things don't last forever out there. You have the ability to take things down and modify them and change them. So just do it. Just start small, get something out there, and then you can change it as you learn and grow and further build that brand.
I love that. Crystal?
Yeah, I was building on what Cheryl was saying along those same lines, and I know that this is something that was talked about in the episode was this fear of making a mistake, and I think it's okay, because if the whole objective is to show that you're a human, it's a natural thing for people to make mistakes. It's authentic to make a mistake, and also it's okay to change your mind. I mean, God knows what I wrote on my live journal in 2002. I probably changed my mind about it.
Yeah.
And it's okay. It makes me like, it's part of who I am, or like what built who I am today.
I agree. Sean?
I would say don't sell yourself short or the things you do, because this is something I have to tell myself, and it's what holds me back from posting about things is like, who cares about this, or is this really that like interesting or special? Just start posting about it and talking about it, and you'll see what people find interesting and react to, and then you have a great jumping off point from there.
Yeah, I love that. I read this quote that personal branding isn't like what you say, it's what you do. So it's really about just bringing visibility to the things that are authentically you. So I think I am going to post a video of me competing in the parent hip hop dance battle, but everyone feels really comfortable that I'm a horrible dancer. If there was any doubt how great my hip hop skills are. Not
I
good.
can't wait to see this.
Oh my gosh. I watched it for the first time all the way through last night. My daughter forced me, and it's so bad. It's funny bad though, you know?
Is it one of those things where it's so bad it's good?
So bad you will laugh, maybe cry. But thanks everyone for attending our office hours. These are so much fun. I love chatting with you, love getting the questions. In the future, we'd love to have more people show their face, maybe do like a little clubhouse-ish thing, but in a different space. So tune in next time. Visit tenlo.com/podcast to listen to Leader Generation episodes. We cover everything from website development and different tactics to generate leads up until personal branding. And yeah, we'll talk to you next time.